I'm sure I didn't. Whoa. Is there a stain on here? Does anybody see a stain on here? That might just be the lighting, but that might be a stain. Is that a stain? I can't even see if this is a stain. Is this yellowed? I don't think. I don't. In this lighting, I don't see anything. When I'm back here, it kind of. Anyway, y'all let me know. Um, After this interview, I realized that one of I think three things. Number one, some interviewers obviously do not look at your resume. Because as of the actual interview, why did I get. Wait, whoa. One of four things. Number one, the recruiter didn't tell me there would be four people in this interview. I was ready for one person. Don't know what that's about. Number two is one of the interviewers is just now pulling up my resume. Mind you, I had sent one of the interviewers who I thought I was actually interviewing with, right? I sent him 4 letters of recommendation and my resume. That's how you know structured I am. After I leave an organization, I get a letter of recommendation. That should be on a shirt. After I leave an organization, I get a letter of recommendation because I'm good. Either way, I gave him that. Why in the fact did this woman, one of the women on the interview panel or interviewer panel, who I didn't know was going to be there, is like, oh, so are you still working with your last employer? No, because I updated my resume and I said that I wasn't working there as of this specific time period in my resume. So you asking that just showed that you did not see that. But did you also not see the letters of recommendation I sent? Don't know. Um, Number two, I think that was one and two separate points. Number three, I don't know this whole debacle about researching or doing research on companies and how extensive that should be. Because honestly, going forward, or going through this interview process, for however long I'm going through it, I'm not trying to stress myself out enough to the point where I'm just like, all right, I need this, because interviewers are already nerve wracking, and what is the word I'm looking for? Just nerve wracking, if you will, because you're already on screen trying to remember what you've done. This is after you've actually prepared, right? And I didn't want to do too much and realizing that I just didn't do enough according to their standards, which is okay. Excuse me. Because honestly, had you not given me a study guide for the interview, I don't think I would have done, just as well, right? Understanding that you're not going to get some of these. And if you do get an interview, you're not going to get some of these. And some of these interviewers are actively grueling down on you. This is an actual, what is it? Case study, right? This is an internal audit, but I'm sure in economics or finance, a case study might have been needed too. So, or it might have been done in your interview. Damn, I'm rhyming. Might have been needed too. Might have been done in your interview. Fuck. That rhymed. But all in all, the interview was not bad. It wasn't good. But it wasn't that bad. It could have been better. I think it could have been way better, right? Based upon the questions they asked. I'm just going to run down the questions by remembrance. The first question, tell us about yourself, which I did clearly. The second question is asking about why you left basically your last employer. And I try to explain or get ahead of some of these questions so it's not reiterated. So usually what I do is I explain what I do and why I'm here in the first thing and try to segue that into, or the first question, try to segue that into why I left my last employer, because I know that's going to come up, right? And try to be clear about what I'm looking for, right? And then there was two other questions, where do you see yourself in terms of audit, right? In terms of staff, senior management, where do you see yourself in 2 years? And I kind of explained that how I had to get acclimated with the company for 2 years, then move on to senior for 2 years, and move on to manager for another 2 more years, to 2, 4, 6 years to get to that. Well, rightfully so. This was before they even told me that you need to be at the company a total of 3 years and with an actual certification to actually be at the management position. So I don't know. In the description for this specific position, you have to have 1 to 3 years of experience, right? So I'll leave that where it is. You take that for what it is. So I mentioned the other questions. What do you see yourself, right, in 3 years, X, Y, Z? The other question was from the man who I was supposed to be interviewing with by myself. Thank God I didn't, because I'm sure he would have been grueling me for shit. He asked me again, so you've been out for about a year. What have you been doing? Applying to jobs. He said you haven't been getting them. Like, are you trying to be shady? Please, sir. Are you trying to be shady? Are you trying to be shady right now? Don't get slapped. And then he was like, so what payroll control? Like, no, then he was like, so what do you know about the company? And I said, just a snippet of what I know about the company, right? Not mentioning the acquisition, because that came on later from the actual interviewer about how they are a company that does a lot of acquisitions, X, Y, and Z. Right? I mentioned that. And it was just like, so where did you hear that we use AI, like, in that? I'm like, you're starting to use AI technology. I said that. Or financial technology. Something, I did mention that. So it's not just AI, but I'm sure they're using that now, right? Tools. Either way, he then asked me to explain what type of background would, I guess, help them in the current state that they're in, or what gives me a leg up, if you will, just to be frank, in my experience that could relay and or parallel to what they do on a day-to-day basis. Right, and I gave an example because a lot of my experience is in SOX testing, which I'm fine with. But I did also mention and preface this by saying I wanted more of an actual balance, right, between SOX testing and operational audits. I said that in some way, form, or fashion, but I guess I just went over people's heads. Uh, and I mentioned some of these like examples about financial reporting. Like, what my whole goal was to get to the bottom line, right, of financial reporting, or anything that affects the financials is the bottom line at this point, right? Because that's what we care about. Obviously, amongst other risk averse things, right? This is what we care about, right? And I guess I don't know if that was taken well or not. I definitely could have explained that way better, but I didn't. Oh, also, I forgot to tell you at the beginning of the interview, like, I stood for an hour trying to get my computer's camera to turn on. Maybe that should have been a sign that you're not supposed to go to this interview, but I just didn't want to self-sabotage. So I took it on my phone. This is not the first time that's happened. I took it on my phone and I told them that, hey, this is that. Right? So not only was I ambushed by two other interviewers who I didn't know were even at the actual interview or going to be interviewing me, then I would then research on them. Also, I was being kind of like shaded, if you will, like, if you like, kind of like nice nasty about like your experience with a man who's been to Kennesaw, right, State, or Kennesaw State University, has an MBA in finance, an MBA in accounting, has been with the company for 7 years. I'm like, the disparity between the questions that you're asking doesn't make sense. You're obviously a loyal mite to this company, and it serves you right because that's what the fuck you want to do. But like, yo, should have known. Disgusting. Like, ew. Like, one thing I will say is that I'm not really competitive in this state of trying to interview and get a position. I'm not, because you're not going to make me feel bad about not knowing something when I just explained how not knowing something and learning is what I'm willing to do. Knowing about the company, I can know about a company and you could have a whole different take on what the company does because you're immersed in that company culture. I'm just sitting here like, this is a scheme set up by Todd, and I'm not having it.